all, welcome back to my channel, Quilter Chris. My name is Kristen and I'm so glad you're here. So on this video, I will be working on making the American Girl doll t-shirt quilt. So in this video, I share with you some things, the way that I do it. There are always multiple ways to do things when you're making any kind of quilt, but even when you're making a t-shirt quilt. The basic formula for making a t-shirt quilt is to cut out the design, the part you want to save, give a 1 to 2 inch space around that design, have interfacing, preferably non-woven interfacing like SF101 or an Amazon equivalent. There's a bunch of places you can get different ones. Put that on the back of your design, trim it up, and then lay it out and see how it looks. If you like it, you can add sashing, which are the strips of fabric that go in between the squares. If you don't want to add sashing, that's okay. Lots of people just do the math. And if you have shirts that are different sizes, you can do the math to still make them line up. You would just have the different rows. So I would do some looking online if you want to do it that way. But this just shows my process. It's pretty it's pretty quick. This is only 8 shirts that I had, and then I piece and applique a middle square, and I put it together. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. As usual, it's not perfect, and none of your quilts have to be perfect. But yeah, I really like it. I hope you enjoy the process. I would love to hear, have you made a t-shirt quilt? How did it go for you? What are some things that worked well for you and what didn't work well for you? Hit me up in the comments. And as usual, if you get anything out of this video or you like it, please don't forget to like and subscribe.
So today I'm working on the t-shirt quilt. Now, before we get started, I want to say that this may be different from t-shirt quilts that you do. All my shirts happen to be the same size. They're all brand new. They haven't been washed or worn. My daughter and I traveled across the country. We took lots of road trips. That daughter's now 23, but when she was a preteen and a teenager, we took lots of road trips. We traveled around and we purchased these American Girl doll shirts. So we have 8 shirts. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make 8 that are the t-shirt quilts. And then I'm going to have 1 square. I don't know if it'll be in the middle or off to a corner, but I'll have 1 square that is pieced. And I think I'm going to do this star pieced. So I have my 8 shirts. I have them over here. They're this color, white and red. I have the widest ruler I have some interfacing. So let's talk about that real quick. So the interfacing that I always used was called SF101. And I use this when I make my bags. And I use this, well, mostly when I make my bags, but also when I make t-shirt quilts. So I have 2 different kinds here. And I'll put a link on the video, but essentially what it is, so it kind of feels like cotton on one side, and then on the other side is the iron portion. Now these are a little different. This one that's folded is a little softer. This one on the roll is a little stiffer, but I find that they both work great. I would recommend you use the same interfacing throughout your quilt, but if that's not possible, it won't ruin your quilt. That's just a personal preference. So I have this interfacing. I have some fabric that I feel like will go well with the quilt. I'm definitely going to use this fabric for the center square, and I might use the purple for sashing in between. I haven't decided yet, so we'll get to that. Here is my widest ruler. It is about 10 inches across. And so I wanted to use this so I can kind of picture the square. Now, I'm going to want this to be bigger because even though the image fits within the ruler, I want to I need to allow for mistakes because I make mistakes. So I will, I have a couple of options actually. I could take one of my water erasable markers and kind of trace around it and then cut outside it. I might do something along that line, but essentially we're just going to cut out our image. Now, I don't have an image on the back. I just have the image on the front. And while it fits within the 10-inch, I think that's probably a good finish size. So I probably need to cut out at least, I would say probably a 1/2 inch on either side, but let's check some of these other images. So here, this is the pink or rose colored. Here is the red one. Yeah, so this mostly gets all of it. So I think we're probably looking at a 11-inch block maybe. Like that's pretty close. And here is the white shirt. This one doesn't really fit within the 10 inches, which I thought would happen. I thought they might be a little bigger. So I think I'm going to cut it maybe out at about 12 inches and we'll see how we like that. So I'm going to get to cutting these. And then after I cut them, we'll iron on the inner facing, and then we will cut out and make the block that's probably going to go in the center. So I will be right back to show that to you. Okay, so I just made marks for the corner. You could also draw a line here to make sure you're cutting straight, but that was just my preference to have that. This is bigger than I need it to be, but I can always go smaller. I can't go bigger after I cut. Okay, here's my rough cutout. I am going to cut out all my shirts to this size, and then I'll come back and we will do the interfacing. So I have cut out my shirts. I have some scraps. I have reserved those in case I decide I want to use them to make my center square. I have not put on the interfacing, and I have not trimmed these exactly. As a quick side note, you can see the guide marks I have made. This is what I use. It is called a Leonis water erasable pin. I get them on Amazon. I'll have a link down below. I have never had a problem with these leaving a mark on my finished product, but your mileage may vary. So just be warned, but I have used it just fine for years. Okay, so we have all of our shirts, and I have 8 of them. Just getting them stacked up here. Now, these curl a lot, and I feel like for knits, it can be difficult. Let me get the camera straighter here. I feel like with knits, it can be, so I cut these out with scissors, but with knits, I feel like it can be difficult to get it exactly straight. So I am going to put the interfacing on now, and then I'm going to trim it to the size that I want. Again, that is a personal preference. I also want to stop, I know I've said this lots of times, your t-shirt quilt may not be perfect, and that is okay. Like, take your time with it and do the best you can, but I promise the memories will still be there, even if your quilt's not perfect. So, I'm going to take my interfacing. These, I believe, are about 12-inch blocks. So I am going to probably cut it, because the blocks, as you can see, are just a little bit shorter than the width of my interfacing here. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this up. You can iron it with I have my Olicio over here, but I have a bigger iron I use it for my bag making, and it will work great in ironing these shirts. So I'm going to get this done, and then I will come back and show it to you. Okay, so for those of you using a heat press, if you are, again, you don't have to, an iron's just fine. These are my settings. And again, I don't know if this is in the manufacturer rules or not. Knit likes to curl. So what I've done to help counteract that is I have glass head pins to hold it down. Again, use that at your own risk. I don't know if there's a warning or not. Don't use plastic head pins because they will match. Use glass head pins. So I have my squares all interfaced. Now, I just want to go over real quick before I trim these up that essentially the formula for a t-shirt quilt is pick the t-shirt you want to use, cut out the design with 1 or 2 inches around the design you're trying to save, if you can, interface the shirts. After you interface the shirts, if you have a lot of designs that are different sizes from each other, you can do the math and figure out how to incorporate them without sashing, or you can do sashing, which is just the fabric in between of different sizes to get all, so that you get squares of all the same size. So it's cut out your designs, interface them, lay them out a few times, a few different ways, decide if you want sashing strips, fabric strips to go in between or not, and then you put it together. Once you put the interfacing on the back of the t-shirt, that takes out the stretch. So then technically you're just working with any other fabric. And so I think sometimes we get nervous about this because these t-shirts, the reason we're making a quilt out of them is because they're so important to us. So we get nervous that we're going to mess it up. You're not going to mess it up. Take your time, give yourself plenty of room around the design. Once you've done that, then you can trim them up and lay them out a bunch of different times, a bunch of different ways. So you can totally do this. Anyway, I'm going to trim these up. And then I have, out of Heat and Bond, I have traced some of the stars. And I'm going to do my extra square that I need. I'll do that with some of these appliqué stars. So I'll show you how I do that. But first I'm going to trim these up so they're all the same. Okay, so I've gotten my squares interfaced and trimmed. And I wanted to show you because I know we are perfectionists when it comes to our projects, and I just really want to try to undo that if I can. So my blocks are trimmed, but some of the designs I got tilted a little bit. That's okay. When it's all put together and I'm giving it to the person who this is meant to be for, they're only going to see their memories. They're not going to see your mistakes. So here are my squares. This one's a little tilted. I could have cut it straighter. I probably should have followed the top of the roof on that one. This one's probably not as centered as it could be. But I think they all look so pretty, and it's such a heavy quilt. This is not a stain. I sprayed water to get out my water erasable marker. So yeah, so now I'm going to work on the center square, and then we're going to what I have done here is I have cut out a purple square. And it is the same size as the t-shirts we've cut out, so 11 inches. I have with Heat and Bond, which is a different product than the interfacing we were using on the back of the quilts. Heat and Bond is a glue. One side is paper and one side is glue. Heat and Bond comes with a label like this. Sometimes this is different colors. This is Heat and Bond Light. There is Heat and Bond Heavy. There's a few different ones. But this is how I applique. So I'm going to try to mimic the design on here with the stars. I have traced several stars on the Heat and Bond. and I am going to iron it on to this fabric I have here, which is black, white, and then this star. And I'm then going to applique them to this purple square. So I will work on that. I will get these all ironed on here and figure out the placement, and then I'll show you how I sew that on. With the heat and bond, we iron it, the glue side down, paper side up, to the back of the fabric, just like this. And as you use it more, you'll get a feel of when it's on there. Sometimes I'll hold it down for like the count of 10 in each section. So I'm just going to do a few of these in a few of our different fabrics, and then we will get them sewn on. Okay, and I'll come back and show you how it looks. Okay, so I have my square here. I'm going to use this as my reference for how I want my design. This is my blank square that I'm going to put my applique on. Now mine is cut at 11 inches, the same as these squares. Sometimes when you applique, it can shrink a little bit. If you are concerned about that, there's a couple of things you could do. You could interface the back of this so it was stiffer. You could cut this about a ½ inch bigger on each side. Whatever works for you. I'm just going to do it like this. Now I have my stars. They're all traced and they're ironed on. I'm going to cut these out. Now I'm going to cut them out and I will sew around them. Sometimes when people applique this way, they will cut out the inside so only a little bit of the edge shows. They will only put the heat and bond a little on the outside. They do that to avoid bulk. This is a t-shirt quilt. The t-shirts are already pretty thick. I'm not super concerned about that. So I'm just going to leave it in the full pieces. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut these out, and then after they're cut out, I'll come back and show you and arrange it a couple ways until I'm happy with it. Okay, excuse me. So I've been playing around with this a little. So I think I'm going to do something along these lines. I have this little star, but I think it's going to be a pain in the butt to sew on, so I don't think I'm going to use it, but I will do these other ones. Now these are layered. They will get thick, so again, if you take out the inside, you do that however you want to do it. What I'm going to do is I will do this one layer at a time. So I just happen to have the Aurifil red, white, and blue thread in the top of my machine, and I'm going to do a blanket stitch all around here. So I will take this off, iron these on, do it one layer, and then I'll put the next and the next. And I will use that red, white, and blue thread throughout, just because I feel like that kind of ties in the whole theme with the American girl. So I'm going to work on this, and then I'll come back and show you. And then I think, I don't know for sure, but I think I'm going to do sashing strips with this fabric here in between the squares. This is a red, white, and blue. These are white stars with blue circles. So we're going to work on this on these stars, and then I will show it to you. Okay, so I have these, they're just pressed on here, and now I'm going to do a blanket stitch all the way around. That's just a setting on my machine. If you don't have a specialty stitch, that's okay. You could use a zigzag. You could also, if you have an embroidery machine, you could embroider these on. You could machine embroider with just zigzag stitches. I've seen people do that, but this is just how I do. So here's the finished quilt. I'll try to get a little closer. I really like it. I'm happy with how it turned out. Have you all done a t-shirt quilt? What are your favorite tips and tricks?
Hey all, thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you really liked it. Again, if you got anything out of this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, I'm so grateful that you're here. Bye-bye now.